What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to another video. If you're new here, my name is Ikwa. Feel free to subscribe to our videos, our channel. And if you're new here, wait, why am I rambling? Anyway, today we are reacting to Jamai video titled Penguinz0 situation is crazy. I know him with Moscow's Cup, but I don't know the exact situation. So probably, hopefully, they give us a background on what's going on because I know it's between him and Sneako, another streamer, and yeah, they have been going back and forth over the years. So let's just head straight to the video.
So last year we had some major drama between Moist Critical, aka Charlie, and streamer Sneako, as Sneako was in his Red Pill era and posting relentlessly about Charlie, as well as a couple of other YouTubers and streamers he had made this infamous collage of.
Best commentary award is a dude who doesn't believe in anything, who games for 13 hours straight, and so guys, I farted in a diarrhea and this happened. I'm not gonna say names. Someone texted me. He's in a monogamous relationship. This is his girl.
He posted about Charlie to the point where he eventually had to reply with this tweet: "You pathetic, sensitive, soy little worm. I made fun of you for watching your girlfriend get f***ed by numerous other men, and also insulted you for defending. That's not cancellation, that's just spitting on you for being a pitiful, sad." Out of this, we would then get the clip of Sneaky dancing around, brandishing a pistol in his hands, threatening Charlie, saying that he could get these clips.
You wanna watch my clips? Watch my clips. Watch my clips.
This, of course, would give us the most glorious moment in the beef, the Mags comment.
But he's a f***ing imbecile, you absolute buffoon. What you have there is not clips. These are mags. They're mags, not clips. The same way that this is also a mag.
And then we would later get this debate. Overall, in the eyes of most, Charlie would decimate Sneako here and make him look very immature. And I would say the majority of viewers thought at this point that he had won the war. Well, Sneako has again been trashing Charlie like no other, especially over the recent situation with Mr. Beast and his creeper Chris. Sneako's stance was that Charlie is a coward for not immediately speaking up about this situation, saying that he is a hypocrite for talking about Dr. Disrespect, but not discussing Chris.
Yo, look out, Moist Critical is not gonna go talk about the Chris situation because he wants to have the Mr. Beast collab.
Well, Charlie would respond to this on Twitter, and even spend several minutes in his video about the Chris situation, addressing Sneako's claim that he was ducking this topic.
I was always going to make a full breakdown of this because it's bad. It's a horrible situation. So yes, you're right. I do talk about like big trending bad shit like Dr. Disrespect or like Cody Ko most recently. I don't know why people thought I wouldn't talk about this. So I've never been someone to and shy away from a bad situation like this just because I know or am familiar with the person that it's about. He has no problem abandoning his morals and defending blatant brushing it under the rug as long as it means it keeps the Mr. Beast collab alive. For you to make insinuations like that and even claims like that is f***ing unhinged, considering you make actual defense arguments constantly.
Well, once again, after this back and forth, the two would have another debate, and this time people were a lot more conflicted about who actually won, as both of them made some very strange comments throughout this conversation. Now, just to be completely transparent with you guys, the full debate here was around 90 minutes long, and no, I did not watch the entire thing. I just feel like at this point my brain is already rotted enough, and I didn't want to put it through that type of stress. But if these two comments that these guys made are any indication of how this debate went overall, yeah, I just don't think my brain could have taken it. So first, let's talk about what Sneako had to say. As you guys know, he's been riding the anti-age of consent wave for quite some time now.
It's just because we have a different idea of what it means to be a child, which can be tracked historically. The general principle in Islam is, you know, you can do what you kind of want, so long as, I'm not going to say you can do what you want so long as you harm it. You can marry whomever you want to marry, so long as it doesn't cause them harm, physical and psychological. And once again, is very relative.
And so Charlie kind of questioned him about his beliefs here, asking him if a 21-year-old should be able to marry a 15-year-old. And you'll never believe what he has to say.
I'm talking about your personal beliefs. Do you think someone in their 20s should be able to marry a 15 or 16-year-old?
So should someone who's about to graduate college be able to marry someone who's just entering high school? Like last year they were running around on that middle school playground.
I personally wouldn't do it. I don't know many people who would do it. the maturity for people and the teenagers in the West is getting much worse. But there are
We're talking globally. Let's just talk globally. Like, do you think it is okay for, and I'm not talking about just you specifically anymore, anyone, do you think it's okay for anyone in their 20s, an adult, to marry a 15 or 16-year-old?
A 21-year-old, if there was a marriage where the father consented and the daughter consented, and it was both good on both families and they wanted to do it, why am I going to get involved? Why should we get the government involved?
Well, at that point, that's almost like arguing, well, why should we have any laws at all? I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not a big fan of the government overreaching into
How will a 15-year-old be able to consent? What does she know about
people's personal
that department to give a consent just because her father has given a consent?
lives and their personal decisions. But as a society, we have to have some sort of structure of what's right and wrong. And I would think that most people with a rational brain can understand why a 15-year-old is not mentally equipped to handle the decision of getting married to someone in their 20s.
Why would I tell them if everybody's consenting, if everybody's okay with it, if the parents are okay with it, if nobody's being harmed, if it's going to be okay, if they're both abiding by the rules and they're not hurting each other, why not?
Because like I said, the 15-year-old just does not have the mental capacity to truly understand what they're doing, and so really they cannot consent to the marriage. And I believe that is kind of Charlie's point that he tries to make against Sneako here, which I think is the right line of thinking. The only problem is Sneako uses the classic debate tactic of using Charlie's own logic against him when Charlie would try to make an even possibly more mind-boggling point about a child's ability to choose to transition. But we'll get back to that in a second. I did first want to talk about some of the other comments that Sneako has made regarding the age of consent.
Like, why does that define the age of consent? I had a debate about this. And I said the age of consent is maturity, is the age of puberty, once the body is mature. Because, bro, I know some people, I went through puberty when I was like 17.
Saying that the age of consent should be when somebody goes through puberty is just insane. Like, I don't know if these type of comments come from a creepy place, or it's just an effect of constantly having to play the devil's advocate over and over again, while also
Just because another popular opinion, different people have this opinion, just because we are grown maturely, physically, that doesn't mean the brain is automatically. There are people, I don't know, I don't know how to, is it autistic or I hope I'm mentioning the right people. There are some people, they have disabilities. They are grown, yes, you see them to be grown. They've hit puberty and all this stuff. But their mind, mentally, do you also consider them to be able to give consent to things like that? Just because they are grown physically doesn't mean they can do stuff like that.
also trying to have the most shocking opinion possible.
That's why the age of consent being strictly exactly on this second 18, this defines maturity. And everyone has to pretend like, yes, that defines maturity. This is the correct age, not 1 second more, not 1 second less. And if anything contradicts it, you're disgusting.
I mean, to me, it's just such a weird hill to choose to die on over and over again. I mean, by his logic, if a girl goes through puberty at the age of 12, which I believe many of them do, well, she's then prepared to marry, some 25-year-old man. She's mentally equipped to do so. I mean, by his very same logic, he should have absolutely no problem with what Chris from Mr. Beast just did. As a matter of fact, in his book, Chris could have went out and married that kid that he was talking to through Discord, and he should really have no problem with it, right? As long as the kid started going through puberty.
And the Moist Critical is like, Sneako, you say that the age of consent is, what do you think it is? I don't know. What do you think it is? Tell me. You think it's 18? It's only 18 in something like 10 states. The rest of it's 17, 16. Around the world, it's 16. A lot of places, 14, 15. So what do you think it is? Is everybody in the world Japan, they just changed it from 13 to 16. Were they before then? What's the consistency?
To me, the blanket age of consent all over the world should probably be 18. Like, at least in this country, that's when you start getting more personal freedoms. That's the age where if you fuck up, the government no longer sees you as a child, and they're gonna punish you as an adult. And at that point, you're really just free to make your own decisions and live with the repercussions of your actions. I don't know, to me, it just does not have to get a lot deeper than that. And here is where Charlie actually falls right into Sneako's trap.
Do you believe that somebody can go through hormone therapy? Can they change their gender if they're a child?
I think that's totally fine as long as everyone is consenting, as you agree with.
Okay.
Just look at the glee on Sneako's face as he realizes that he fell for his trap card.
Hormone therapy, can they change their gender if they're a child?
I think that's totally fine as long as everyone is consenting, as you agree with.
And obviously, guys, what's the point that's about to be made? Sneako's pretty much gonna say, well, Charlie, so a kid cannot consent to marrying an adult, but they can't consent to making a life-altering decision.
Okay, so as long as
Your
everyone...
parents are okay with it, and you are okay with it, I think that's totally a familial decision to make, yeah.
Okay.
So they're literally making the exact same stupid arguments about two different, very, I guess, controversial topics.
So, a child can cut their penis off and take hormone blockers and change their biology forever, but they can't get married?
Well, that's a decision that now extends beyond the family, because now you're bringing in a different party. So if you have someone that's your age coming in saying, I want to marry that child, I don't think that can happen under any circumstance.
Yeah, but neither thing should happen under any circumstance. I mean, listen, guys, I'm all for transitioning once you are an adult. Using your own money, okay? I don't think taxpayers should pay for that type of surgery. But if you want to go and do whatever you want to your own body, well, I'm really all for it. Because at the end of the day, I am for adults having their own personal freedoms. But should a child be able to make that type of life-altering decision? Absolutely not. Should their parents be able to make that type of life-altering decision for their kid? To me, no. Like, if I take a baby to a tattoo parlor and say, hey, I consent, put a tattoo right across their forehead that says idiot, there's a reason that nobody is going to allow you to do that.
Okay, if I'm 16 and I personally want to marry this girl, she's beautiful, she's 21 years old, her family wants to do it, my family wants to do it, you're saying I can't do that. We're both consenting, I'm ready to go, I'm physically mature, but I'm not allowed to marry because Moy says that woman's a... But if then, the next day I leave it, I'm depressed, I want to cut my penis off, I can go right into the clinic, snip it off, and start taking HRT like Chris Tyson. That's a society that makes sense to you?
It is. I believe everyone has complete... Yep, I believe everyone...
They are both wrong, regardless of how you try to put it. They are both wrong in those situations. None of them should. The child shouldn't be able to do that until you are 18 and above. You are legally an adult. Those both situations are wrong.
Everyone has the right to do with their body what they want to do.
Okay.
It's just so bad. I gotta say, this is the biggest L I've probably ever seen Charlie take, and he kind of just walked right into it. I mean, like I said, once someone starts using your own logic against you, the debate is pretty much over. I mean, at the end of the day, guys, you know what my point of view is? That neither of those things are okay. The other thing I did want to say is, I do believe that it's actually a lot easier for someone to transition if they want to do that, if they wait until they're an adult. I believe if you start taking the hormone blockers too young, and your reproductive organs don't have the right time to develop, there will usually be a lot of complications with the surgery in the future. So in theory, it's actually in everyone's best interest, including people who know they want to transition at a very young age, to wait until they are at least 18. Either way, after this, Charlie has kind of been getting cooked online. Sneako has pretty much been begging him to release this debate on his channel. So I am curious to see what he will do from here because, like, as someone who puts his opinion out there online for a living, this was kind of a take that a lot of people seem to disagree with. So I had actually recorded that video yesterday, and as I was editing it right now, we actually did get some updates on the situation that include Charlie apparently walking his comments back, and him also potentially leaving the internet altogether.
And now I give a perspective on something that immediately gets misconstrued, and I do recognize a lot of it's my fault. I assumed that Sneako was talking in hyperbole about a 9-year-old getting their cut off, because I didn't have the assumption that anyone thought that is how transitioning works. Under no circumstances, any legality behind a kid saying, I want to change genders, and then immediately going in and getting their cut off. That doesn't happen. I thought he was just talking in hyperbole.
I mean, I think he was kind of just trying to discuss the idea of a child transitioning in general and if that's okay.
I thought he was talking about the overall point of a child transitioning, which is years-long process. And you can't even get that fucking surgery legally until you are 18.
Yeah, but you can definitely start transitioning and taking these various hormones before you turn 18 years old, especially in some states.
And I guess I should have assumed that he was being literal, and that's on me. But yeah, there's no winning on anything. Sneako gets away with saying 12 to 15-year-olds can marry adults. I don't think his chat looks anything like the YouTube chat here. He literally, multiple times, reaffirms that he believes 12 to 15-year-olds can legally, morally, and should marry adults. And there is no problems for him. But I said that I think it's okay for a child to transition, to learn about it. It's a process. You don't just go in and immediately get your cut off. That's not how it works.
I mean, I wouldn't say that he's even necessarily walking anything back there. I also think that the argument he makes about, like, oh, everyone's acting like what Sneako said is okay is just kind of minute, like it's not really relevant. Because I have seen Sneako obviously catching a lot of backlash over this age of consent thing for quite some time. And it's pretty obvious at this point that he's kind of cultivated the type of audience that's going to ride with whatever the he thinks. So I'm not surprised that they're not like giving him backlash over those comments. That's what he has been preaching for quite a long time. Either way, this news gets a little bit spicier after it was announced earlier today that Charlie is apparently going to be stepping away from his podcast. Show update. Goodbye, Charlie. Hey everyone, effective immediately, Charlie has made the decision to leave both the official podcast and Red Thread. He wants to go on an indefinite hiatus to scale back his time spent on the internet. We obviously wish him the best, for everyone to respect his decision, and for all to know that the show will always be open for him to drop by and talk shop should he wish to return. So yeah, it seems like Charlie might not be in the best place right now. And I do completely understand if he wants to spend less time on the internet. This job in general can be very taxing from a mental standpoint, and I can recognize how hard it can be to step away from something that is so lucrative for you, that has just become part of your life. But it can also be very toxic when you start talking about more controversial topics, and obviously you read in the comments every day, there's people that disagree with you, there's people that hate you for your opinions, and maybe if he was already feeling kind of burnt out, this might have just been like the straw that broke the camel's back. And despite him dropping what I think is like pretty horrendous take, obviously I wish the best for him, and hopefully he's gonna be doing alright, but y'all let me know what you guys think.
And this is quite an interesting topic now for season two. I didn't know this was going on. Yeah. And also, just as I said earlier, both of the situations is not ideal for both situations. So that's my take on it, and I might be right or wrong. So if you think otherwise, please let me know in the comment section, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.